Gang, you go invest $100,000 plus for a franchise. You fly back to wherever the training class is, and you find out what the very first day of training is, and that's what it is right here, guys. It's your goals, it's your why, and why you invested $100,000. And you guys, we have done it so many times, investing in these big franchises and everything else, and God bless, they have been successful, every single one of them. But I'll tell you what, the first thing that we need to do in this room is change our belief. Okay? We have to change our belief, because that $129 that it took to get into this business, you need to start treating it as if it was a $129,000 investment. Okay? And that's being serious. Because personally, I think $129 to get in this business is not enough. Because if you look at the pro formas of every single one of those 9 franchises that my wife and I got in, and you stack it up even with the compensation plan and the opportunity that you have with this business, I'd have spent $129,000. If my father-in-law told me about this and said I need to get in, I would have invested it to get into this business, because it made more sense than any one of those franchises that we got into. So guys, we need to change our thought process up here, because what we had to pay some major prices to get those doors open. I mean, some of those franchises were even more than $100,000. And that was just getting to the first day of operation, where we had 0 customers. Okay? And gosh, guys, we have such a huge opportunity right now with this company, with a marketing plan, being in the soft launch. Guys, just commit the next 90 days of your life and give it all you got and see what's going to change for the rest of your life. And I'll tell you, it will make a big difference. But the very first thing you need to do is start treating it like a business. And that was already been talked about earlier, but I just wanted to reiterate that because it's very important. The second thing that I find, and people come up to me all the time and they ask, Rolf, I just can't get this guy in the business. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just can't get him in the business. And I know the answer to that before it even finishes the question. Right? Absolutely. Guys, the problem is, it's not hard. I mean, we heard every single person that came up here, what was the very first thing that they talked about? They talked about how great this product was and how great the testimonies were. So it's pretty obvious, it's not too hard to start the conversation right and get Akea in the conversation. Richard already talked about form. Ask any parts of form to anybody and you will be able to negotiate that conversation right in to them asking you about Akea. So we all kind of agree that that's not a hard thing to do. But the problem is, we get to that point and then the person asks us that deadly question. Well, what's it all about? What is it? Okay? And then what happens is, guys, we get into that dead zone. It's called the valley of death. Yeah. Okay? Because the problem is, guys, what happens is, and this happens probably to 90% of the new people that are in this business, they talk them in and out in the very same conversation. Yeah. Right? Okay?
I've never done that.
Use the darker one.
Darker one?
Yeah.
All right. So we want to go to the invitation stage. Pretty easy to get to there, right? We just talked about that. The BP, the business presentation. That's the hard part. We need to get it to the business presentation, get it to our sponsor who can help us, get it to a webinar where Terry can help us, Okay? But the problem is, we got this thing right here. It's called the valley of death. Alright, let me explain the valley of death. Alright, let me give you a little example. How many people here remember getting in that brand new car, that brand new stick shift car that you got, okay, and you're just learning how to drive that brand new stick shift? You guys remember that? Pretty easy. You guys are crunching the gears a little bit, doing a lot of things wrong, trying to get the pedals working and going in the right direction, and you're in those vacant parking lots missing all the different cones and the barriers and everything else. And then you get your license. You enter the business. Okay? And so the first day out with your brand new stick shift, you're cruising the town and everything's going great. And you're cruising up this hill, and you're like, uh-oh. You see the green light on top of the hill, right? And you're like, uh-oh, I better speed up because I'm not going to get caught on it. But what happens, guys? Yellow to red. And you're stuck, you're first one on this hill, right? Okay? And then the next thing you're doing is you're looking in that mirror. Man, I sure hope nobody gets behind me. I sure hope nobody gets there. And what happens? Sure enough, that guy comes up and he's this close to you, right? That's what it feels like. Okay? And then the next thing you know, the next one comes in behind him, and the next one, and basically you got people all the way to McKinley Avenue backed up there, right? Okay, and to make it even better, right, you got all those people who want to cross the street who now have to wait for their turn. So you've got a bunch of people sitting on the side here, on both sides, waiting to cross in front of you. So you're just sweating, you're beaten up, and you're just going, oh my gosh, right? So what happens is, now you start looking at the light over here, right? And it turns to yellow, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got 5 seconds to live. Okay? So you turn around, guys, and the light turns green. And you think you would have stalled it at that point, right? But you give it so much gas, you're getting squirrely, and you're flying through that intersection, and all those people on the side of the road are going, man, I ain't getting in that guy's car. But guys, that's exactly what we do when we enter the valley of death. They ask us that question, what is this thing all about? And the first thing we want to do is we tell them about all the longevity hotspots. We tell them about everything that's, all the nutrition that comes from every single one of the hotspots all over the world. Then we start getting into the compensation plan, and we talk about, man, we got this great fast start bonus. Man, we even got this fast start, 50% fast start bonus. We got super turbo. We even get this $100 super turbo mentor bonus, and that's paid every single time. And then when you turn around and you start building an organization, yeah, you get paid from 10 to 20%, depending on what your rank is. And then you got a 20% check match if you're a regional director or more. And man, it's just great. Then you got this leadership bonus, and man, the best part is we got this thing called the Founders Club, and man, we're all going to make some money. Do you want in? And these guys are going, I ain't getting in that guy's car. Guys, that's what's happening every day, and that's what's happening in your guys' businesses. And what we need to do, guys, is we need to create a system, and the system's already in place. We need to create a system that is going to bridge the valley of death. Okay? And how do we do that, guys? We already discussed it. Real easy to start the conversation. And if you're brand spanking new in here, we already talked about our 30-second commercial. Does anybody here know what the 30-second commercial is? Does anybody here have one? Okay, 2 of you. All right. We need to create a 30-second commercial. All right. There's one in your back office in your resources if you don't have one. But gang, you gotta have one. And let me tell you, that 30-second commercial needs to be impacting. It needs to be impacting. I mean, it needs to slap somebody across the face, boom, and wake them up and see, oh my gosh, what am I missing? Because that's all you're going to say to them. If you're brand spanking new in this business, that 30-second commercial, you need to know it, live it, know it, live it. Because that's all you're going to tell that new prospect. Okay? Because what we're going to do is just like what we had a great example on, is we're going to three-way call to set the appointment for the business presentation or the webinar. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. But that three-way call has got to be so impacting, because what is the secret to sales? What's the secret to sales?
The close. Trying to close.
Take it away from them. Thank you. You just got you take it away. People are going to run after you, because what are you trying to do for your sponsor who's going to help you with the business presentation? What do you have to give him? You have to give him credibility, but one thing more, you got to get a phone number and contact information so that we can get a hold of him. So if we can't do a three-way call or whatever, we can get in touch with him. Okay? Does that make sense?